As expected, Barbie is just continuing to rake in money. It just passed $1 billion at the box office. No movie in Warner Brothers history has sold so many tickets so fast. It is an amazing achievement, not only for the movie in general, but also Greta Gerwig specifically. To this point, only 28 people have had sole directing credit on a $1 billion movie. Well, now it's 29. She gets to be that 29th. It is a very exclusive club. And it's easy now, after a couple of weeks of it being out, to be like, well, this was inevitable. It's such a big movie. But not everyone thought that it was gonna be a huge success. And not just for abstract reasons, they had a specific reason that it wasn't gonna be a success. You might recall, go woke, go broke. So what the hell happened? Because it went woke, we know that. I remember headlines like this with conservatives being mad that the Barbie movie is both woke and promotes the trans agenda. You know, that insidious agenda to exist. Others saying that it's drowning in feminism and lectures. It's just one big feminist, like just make us feel bad. Or Ben Shapiro specifically saying it's one of the most woke movies he's ever seen. But the issue is that, as I said, it has made $1 billion. So go woke, go broke, $1 billion Barbie. How do we make that work? Maybe it was never woke, actually. Maybe it was anti-woke. And the rewriting of the narrative begins. So it started with this. This is a map that they showed on Fox News last week, showing that southern states actually preferred Barbie over Oppenheimer. So they had to wrestle with that. What does it mean that they would like Barbie and that they'd want to see it? And now with just the money pouring in, they have to take the next step. And so this article is on Fox News literally this morning. Some conservatives have surprising Barbie takes despite criticisms of liberal agenda. And they are somewhat surprising takes. I'm not gonna read through all of them or whatever. You can read the article if you want, but they call it a delightfully fresh critique of modern feminism and masculinity. They say it acknowledges what makes a woman. And ultimately, the message of Barbie is Barbie's life isn't enough. Sure, the world of Barbie is sheeny. What does that mean? Sparkles, but there's no aging or cellulite, crying babies or stress, but it's also vapid, meaningless, and loveless. The idea being that Barbie is somehow living like a lib fantasy and all she needs is love. But I watched the movie and it's very specifically not about how she just needs a man. What are you talking about? She wants to live a full life where she is coming up with ideas and not just being idolized. Again, none of this is gonna make any sense once you even scratch the surface, but they're trying hard, Francesca, to pretend that the movie's actually like super critical of feminists.
I love this. Oh, this is so good for them for having a new angle on it. And obviously watching the movie and completely not learning any of the lessons and being like, so she chose, this is a spoiler, the real world, which means she chose patriarchy, i.e. patriarchy is better and Barbie world is bad. Like, that's great. That's incredible that they were able to find this. Look, here's the reality. They have to spin it. Here's the real, the crux of all of the Barbie stuff. It's too big to ignore, right? And you can't just run a segment that's like, I liked it, I think I learned a lot about like traditional, how women and men are put into these like traditional roles that they don't love and they don't appreciate, and how like Ken is treated ironically in the way that women are treated in the real world, and how the role reversal, like they're not gonna have an honest conversation about any of that, so they have to find an angle to get the clicks, to get the likes, to get the everything. But on the ground, people who go to see this movie in those red states, they are gonna come away with honestly what I thought was like a gender studies 101 class, that in an incredibly fun, entertaining, and hilarious way that also is like a little bit of corporate shilling or a lot of corporate shilling for Mattel. So there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, 100%. And by the way, like, can you, like, is some of this, like, does it critique some aspects of feminism? Yeah, well, it's a thoughtful movie. It's not just propaganda of one type or the other. I know that you want it to be. I know that you find it weird that maybe Greta Gerwig has thoughts about things and maybe Margot Robbie has thoughts about things and they're just expressing themselves as art. But that's what's going on. It's not, they didn't type into ChatGPT, give me something woke. That's not what they did. They talked about their experiences. They recontextualize Barbie and critique it and laud it all simultaneously because they are trying to be thoughtful. They are not just trying to, as Francesca pointed out, just get clicks off of pretending that it's totally anti-woke. It contains multitudes. Some of it you're gonna like, some of it you're not. That's how movies work. And that's how people's reactions to them should go. I don't know why they have to live in a world where it has to be a movie about how Jesus is awesome and Kevin Sorbo stars in it, or else it's woke nonsense. Some movies are good, some are not. But of course they're gonna act this way. The right wing, effectively, I'm not talking about regular people, but their media class are just parasites on popular culture. They pretend to hate it, they pretend to reject all of it, but they constantly have to comment on it because they don't actually hate it and they're not producing enough stuff to have a self-sustaining pop culture of their own. Because they're attacking people for being creative and open-minded and thinking and being experimental. Of course, those are the people that are gonna produce the art.
Exactly, they have to have an angle on this because it's so popular. It's a $1 billion grossing movie. They're gonna bite off that apple, and they have to just take all the wrong lessons from it. Which, by the way, John, I just thought it was so funny because Ryan Gosling's character and Ken generally is the embodiment of everything that conservatives think an alpha male should be and is, and he's kind of not just a loser. He comes to this moment of hey, masculinity is a lot more than just my stuff and my abs and my my furs and my man cave and beach. And it's so good. It's so good. You're yeah, stripped of everything. What is Ken? What is my masculinity? It's not tied to all of these alpha male indicators. So I invite you, Ben Shapiro and others who feel personally touched by this film, to go find what it is that defines you other than being upset at women.
Yeah, and if you're a regular conservative, again, I'm just never gonna stop with the stuff that it weirds me out, that it doesn't weird you out, that you have no idea what Ben Shapiro thinks about this movie, despite the fact that he made a 44-minute video about it. Because he can't tell you what he really thinks. He can only tell you what he thinks you want to hear that will give him money. That's it. It's just a culture of lying. That's all it is.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.